Nice to hear a fellow Brit, Bran. Are you?
Yeah, I was just thinking that myself recently. In the crypto space, I've seen a lot of British teams come out, which is nice to see. So I've started to feel a bit at home in DeFi recently. I'm so used to working on the American timetable, especially with Neil, any other projects that work with. It's always that EST timetable or PST timetable. So it's nice to see some BST guys in the space.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a bit of a corporate background, so and I'm obviously UK based, so I've always worked traditionally to BST, done some kind of across the pond, but it always worked to our time. When you step into this space, you realise you need a 24/7 body clock, and yeah, it tends to take some getting used to, I think.
I totally agree. Sometimes I don't even know when I'm meant to sleep anymore. It's just sort of, if I've got to do something, I've got to do something. Sleep will come later.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's great, obviously, for you guys. I mean, we had the announcement quite recently, and it's from our perspective, it's massively positive because partnerships and kind of welcoming other new members. I've seen loads of new faces in the crowds who's on the AMA rather, who we've not seen, and we always just what it's like. I mean, we've been in at least 3 months, and I've pretty much been here from the start, like a lot of other members. And you kind of get that giddy feeling when you see someone new you haven't seen for a while, and it's just nice to kind of bring other communities involved. And no doubt there'll probably be kind of a lot from our community going over to yours and stuff like that. So it's always nice to kind of welcome new members.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, man. I feel like there's a lot of hostility in this space where, a lot of projects could work 10 times better just working with each other instead of against each other. 9 times out of 10, majority of the projects have pretty similar advocates. You've got the same people especially in specific projects like rebase tokens. It's the same crowd, so working against each other just never makes sense. So totally agree, my man.
Well, I'll tell you what, while we're waiting for Godfather, why don't we maybe just start off by doing some introductions, maybe just kind of who you are, a little bit about yourself, a little bit about the project, just as a kind of start off, just to kick things off. And if Shiblord, I'll maybe start with yourself, if that's okay.
Yeah, it's good with me. So first, just hey, thank you guys for bringing us in here and up on this AMA. And definitely look forward to working with you guys in the future here, not just through the AMAs, but just in general through DeFi. So shout out to you guys there. My name is Neil, or Shiblord here in the Discord, Shiblord on Twitter. So I am, fully doxed and KYC'd by Assure. So you can figure out kind of who I am very, very specifically there. The project itself is a little bit multi-purposeful. I do have a couple of my team members up here, Bran and CK, and we have more of the community down here in the AMA audience. But that being said, we're starting off as a rebase protocol that are starting from day one to be a legitimately sustainable passive income system. We're going to involve NFTs. We're going to involve a trading bot. We're going to involve a liquidity management system. We're going to involve an investment into MDB. All these different things put together because the biggest issue that we see with rebase protocols is obviously inflation. So we're going to start fighting that from day one, ideally to a surplus sooner rather than later. I've been involved in crypto for 4 years, generally speaking, and full time this past May. So obviously that turned up over time there. I got my first, community manager job in DeFi back in January. So I'm a little bit versed in just the different aspects of DeFi at this point. It's truly an honor to be able to build something together with the team that I have here in this community that we're going to have growing and ideally kind of get things rolling there.
Yeah, that's awesome. I don't think enough people put emphasis on how important the team and the community and the alliance brings, to a project. I think if you have enough of those ingredients, there's a very good chance you'll make a success of it. So that's awesome. Thanks for that, Shiblord. Bran, do you want to go next?
Yeah, of course. Nice to meet you all. My name is Bran, my name's Brandon, also known as Bran. I'm quite versed in a lot of the rebase communities. A lot of people here will know me from multiple communities. I come from a background of blue chips in crypto, scalp trading, all that nonsense, and being in the DeFi space for about 2 years. I started my DeFi career investing in, tokenomics tokens, getting involved in the hype, especially around FEG, SafeMoon. And then obviously I started my career about a year and a half ago working in community management, general crypto advising, and biz dev relations in regards to crypto projects. Over the years, built a lot of connections in regards to marketing, in regards to community engagement, and general overall crypto advisory. So over the last 2 years, I've worked in multiple projects as a community manager, advisor, and I'll be taking a role in ProtocolX as pretty much overview of the community as my main priority, but also working in the background with Shib, CK, and the rest of our lovely team members in for ProtocolX. And yeah, I'll pass that over to CK.
Awesome job.
Hey there, guys. I'm CK. My name is Jack. I've been in DeFi for about a year and a half now. I started my journey with SafeMoon, became a senior moderator there, helped build that community to about 100,000 members. I branched off into modding other communities. Recently, it's been like Seifu, Kyoto, and I mainly take a administration approach. So I handle everything related to bots and server management.
Awesome stuff. Cool. I'll give a quick introduction. I'm Apex Alpha. My real name's Andrew. I've got more of a corporate background. I've deal a lot with kind of energy systems and IoT and kind of the smart buildings world, SaaS platforms and kind of saving energy and stuff like that. That's my kind of normal day-to-day job. But I kind of similarly to you, Bran, I think I've been in the DeFi space probably less than 2 years actually, but generally in maybe kind of trading, more of a retail trader than anything. But got into the DeFi space and done all the kind of things that everyone else does. You tipple into the node scene. You quickly realize that that's not very smart move over time. Then into the rebase kind of elements, and then kind of feel like we fell onto an absolute champion in the deflationary model. Obviously, we can speak about that a bit later on. I got into this community pretty early on, and just was always active. Kind of just got notified and kind of had a good chat with Godfather at the time, and it was early on. I took a role for the head of the Millionaire Club, which is essentially a club for loyalty, really. So we have basically a club where we separate the channel. You have to buy over a certain amount of MDB tokens and just simply hold them. It's based roughly or loosely around $500. We repeg that every 2 weeks just to make sure we're always in and around that $500 mark. But we get a lot of kind of benefits and advantages with that. So things like when MDB Plus was first released, I think we released it kind of like a week earlier to the Millionaire Club community. Obviously got in a little bit earlier. We do a lot of kind of project pitches, and oftentimes there's white lists. Sometimes it's NFTs, sometimes it's tokens. They will get given out to the Millionaire Club community. As well as that, we do things like mindfulness coach. We have a professional who comes in once a month. She will do a session just about managing stress, and specifically in the space we're in, it's really cool because it's almost like one-to-one. You can ask questions, people will talk, almost like a bit of a counselling session for everyone, which is awesome. And we've just started to introduce educational content. Again, it's exclusive to the Millionaire Club, which is to say we talk about blockchain technology, different projects, and kind of things to look out for, how to spot rugs, all the kind of stuff that you really want to know as an educational piece. And that's really it. So my kind of role is managing that. I get a lot of involved and kind of hosting the pitches on behalf of the project. And I think that's just about it in a nutshell for me. I don't know if Danny is back or not.
I am back. Sorry, I did DM you, and thanks for kicking off. Great introduction, guys, and fantastic to have you here. This is actually I think because EMP was our first sort of synergy solutions partner, the first sort of major partner in the MDB Plus Alliance. We've done an AMA over there actually, but it's the first time we've had a project that's partnering with us around MDB Plus and using it as a utility in the server. So, like, welcome to anybody that's new. And Shiblord, obviously, we've had one-to-one conversations, and I think whenever you look for any sort of partnership, I think for me, number one, the first thing I'm looking for is like an alignment in values. The world is a challenging space, and crypto can be really, really hard. But actually, if you've got the right values and the right sort of dedication to doing, trying to deliver something that's sustainable and good, then I'm all for working with projects like that. So just sort of hats off to the team that you've got, because it's a fantastic group of people. For anyone that doesn't know me, so this is my first sort of like I say job. It's I'm basically it's my project, but I'm my first sort of project that I've set up myself. Been in the industry for a couple of years, and been through some journeys and learned a lot along the way. And ultimately, MDB was set up to try and solve what we saw as the major reasons why we see projects failing ultimately. And I won't bore you with all of the details, but we identified a number of sort of 3 or 4 sort of key roadblocks that sort of like the top reasons why a project failed, basically. And that's what MDB is. So, it's designed to be very community focused, very sustainable, and at the same time, not just moon sort of times 100. Our goal definitely is to hit times 100, but to do it at a pace where the protocol supports that level of growth as well. And as a team, we're quite mature. So I know in crypto, I'm probably old enough to be a parent to some people in the audience. But I'm at the wrong end of my 30s, but come with lots of business experience. I've worked for a couple of Fortune 500 businesses at a senior level, worked in sort of startup investment space, and and anybody that knows MDB over the last few months will know that we launched just before the Terra Luna sort of drama, and then there was the big market crash, and we're kind of on our third pump. We pumped kind of into both of those big events, which obviously took some momentum out of us, but we've performed and fared extremely well. And as I'll just back up what Apex said, actually, it's not because of the code individually. Obviously we've got solid contracts that are audited. It's not because of the team. I believe in our team. I think we've got a great, mature, professional team. It's not just because of the community. It's all of those things coming together. So, yeah, really with the MDB Plus Alliance, our goal is to build a true alliance where actually projects like yours come in and they give something and they get something, and it's completely fair. It's something that you want to be part of because it's good for you and it's good for us, and us working together helps for the greater good. And so fantastic to have you guys here. Really looking forward to hearing more about the project.
Brilliant. Yeah, no, thank you very much for having us. So what I'll do is, if you don't mind, I'll just give a little brief overview about our reasons for sustainability, and then I'll pass it over to Neil or Shiblord, just so he can discuss the project in a bit more detail. But I just wanted to touch on a point you said about sustainability, especially in the world of rebase projects. We can see it becomes so unsustainable to the point of where you find projects are tripping over their own feet because they're then sort of in a panic state. Now, that's not any project specifically, but that's something we're looking to avoid. Now, with our contracts and our team we're working with, who are also British-based, our development team, we have a nice close connection where we're working with them daily on potential contract upgrades to ensure sustainability. The last couple of days, we have had non-stop meetings about how we can make A, things more sustainable, and B, how we can make the protocol last longer. Now, as you may know, our daily rebase starts out at 1.77%. Now, DeFi projects don't tend to have sustainability issues until about month 4 or 5. Up until then points, usually people's tokens are about 8 or 16x. Once it gets to the 8x point, it's a pretty safe margin. So that usually happens about month 4 or 5, depending on the daily percentage of a project. Now, with our protocol, the early rewarders are still rewarded very heavily. However, they haven't got that panic of a sheer drop in the chart at a much larger scale because it becomes much more sustainable. If the project can attain a growth of, say, a 10x within that 4-month period, then it will outweigh the emissions which are being emitted. So there's multiple ways we're looking to do this, some of which are things built into the contract to avoid treasury sales and mass large sales. If anyone's a part of any project, sometimes the team have no choice but to dump some treasury tokens to pay for X thing. Another thing we're looking at doing is introducing an LMS system to create a rise in price floor, which I think is very integral in a protocol that emits so much tokens. Now, once we get to that point of where emission becomes a problem, so say month 4 or 5, our our daily percentage has already dropped from 1.77% to a 1.16%. Now, to a normal holder that purchases it at that time, that's still a very good percent. But if you have held from early on and you've amassed, 8 times your tokens, you're still going to be earning more than you was at the start. So the way it works is rewarding the early holders. We will have things that incentivize that, and also letting the holders know that we're here to build for the long term. I believe our APY for the year will be 63%. Now, 63,000% roughly. Now, that is a massive difference in comparison to some that are, say, 300,000 plus or even 100,000 plus. What that does is it gives us more time to integrate our real world revenue systems. An example of that could be our partnership with you guys. And an example of that could be our partnership with the Ego brand, who specialize in trading bots, which then brings another external revenue source into the protocol. So our main focus is how can we sustain this protocol with using as minimal of the protocol itself. Now, I think that's a major focus in the space, because what you don't want to do is become too reliant on your storage. As I said, sometimes these tokens have to then dump treasury tokens. We're looking at building in a sort of not a liquidity management system, but a treasury management system where there'll be very minimal non-noticed sales in another contract of line that will go to an allocated development wallet. What that will do is then negate any large treasury sales from having to happen. So it allows for continuous growth in the protocol. Will then you be using external methods to generate the burn, such as our partnership with Ego, and also any DEX fees, any fees we earn outside. And during this time, with the rebases not causing an over-exaggerated amount of emissions. Now, don't get me wrong, 63,000% a year is still a lot. But what it does is it gives us time. It gives us time instead of getting into month 3 and 4, and we're then panicking to release our business models, or we're still in discussions with blockchains or relevant partners about releasing said business models. But our token is now at 16 times the base, emissions, and people are now panicking. People are stressed out. People are going, hey, this token's only going down. No one wants to catch a falling knife. So making sure that the chart and the token can be sustainable is very important for us. Now, a lot of our main focus in the space is partnerships, working with brands that represent our business itself and our personalities itself. And that's exactly why we're super excited to work with you guys and any other partners we work with. As I said from the start, I believe DeFi is very lucrative. You can spend X amount of money on extortionate marketing, or you can use them funds to build real utility, build partnerships, build alliances, as you guys are doing, and growing in the space while benefiting each other. Now, that is the direction we want to take ProtocolX. We want to build our real world utility. I'll let Shib talk on that later. We don't talk on it much because we are working on business proposals to propose to larger firms, larger blockchains, and larger VCs before we discuss it too in depth. But if Shib wants to touch on that, he's more than welcome to. But as I said, in a nutshell, our main goals is, being sustainable. We don't want to be that token that goes, hey, in 365 days, your $1,000 will be $5 million. It's completely unrealistic. It's smoke and mirrors, and that's not what the DeFi space should be about. Now, I'm super excited for our project, and thank you for letting me ramble on. But I'll pass it over to Neil and see if Neil has anything to say about the project.
Yeah, hey, thank you. We don't mean to take over all your time here, so shout out to Brand, who could talk forever as well, just like myself. So pretty much what Brand is, what he went over there is, hey, this is a new era of DeFi that we're in from even 1 year ago. If we can get actual passive income kind of revenue streams going in DeFi, we can start to become ahead of the curve as the other kind of protocols have to figure it out and get there, or whether they start and there's mass inflation like Brand kind of went into, preventing them from ever getting there, which is why I'm selecting my partners very, very, I guess, in depth, and I'm really kind of vetting each and every person that I'm working with directly. MDB is obviously the one that we're here because we're all talking together. Brand mentioned Ego; they're such a great business that they have going on as well. But combining with these efforts, ideally we could start becoming like a community of legitimate growth in DeFi. And that's what we'd love to build here over time, little by little, get ahead of the curve as far as the DeFi passive income model, get ahead of inflation, start introducing new things that are not currently in the space, and also working with good people with good strategies. And that's kind of what we're prioritizing here, whether it's from just investing with our funds that we get from the pre-sale, or how we're going to utilize our DEX that we're going to have over there. It's going to be called XSwap, and how I'm going to have onboarded projects there, as well as some other partnerships that should be announced in the next few days. That'll be pretty encouraging for others. So more or less, we're going to combine this kind of rebase token, make it as sustainable as quick as possible, introduce an NFT revenue share system, start eliminating some of the greed that you see with a lot of the other, I guess, DeFi-ish rebase protocols out there, like where is this money going? How do we know where it's going, etc. What we're kind of believe here is, yeah, we're all going to get paid. Obviously, we all work here. We're building something. We're going to get paid accordingly, but we need to have things go back to the community primarily, because if that all dies, then everything else dies with it. So we're going to combine all sorts of different efforts: liquidity management system, a partnership with Ego, a partnership with MDB, and some of these other things that are going to be coming up soon to really start driving home this legitimate passive income over time, so we can all look back a year from now and say, hey, that was great to get the 1.77% APY in month one, but now we have a legitimate and sustainable passive income. I mean, as far as the eye can see. That's what we're all looking forward to here. I very much so looking forward to even hearing more about MDB Plus's, everything that they have going on with there as well, because we would like to get a liquidity pair on our DEX. With that, probably a secondary one. We'll have our initial one on PancakeSwap till the DEX is big enough. Have a secondary one on the DEX itself via a pair of MDB Plus, or MDB tokens rather, and then have some treasury fund investment as well, and allow you guys to kind of do your thing, which will benefit us all ideally in the long term. I don't want to talk forever, so if you guys want to chime in, just cut me off, or else I'll keep going.
We both have a thing. We can speak for Britain, honestly.
No, that's really good. Look, I think obviously, people might be new and thinking, well, what is this MDB Plus, and what does it really mean? So I'm happy to sort of give an overview on that and answer some questions.
But
considering you guys have just given, and to be fair, like, you both apologise for talking a lot, but in fact, I found it really engaging, so no apologies needed at all. I think it's probably a good point where maybe some people can ask some questions about your protocol.
Yeah, no, for sure. We're welcome to any questions, that people may have. We are quite an open book protocol. Anything hard as possible, let us know.
Yeah, well, I've got, there's always a couple of questions that come to mind, and I'm sure Apex has got a couple, and I thought maybe if we just sort of kick out a couple of, we almost probably have a set of standard questions that always come to mind whenever you talk to a new protocol. So maybe I'll just ask one first of all. So is the team fully doxed?
Yeah, I'll go into this here. So the team is entirely doxed. My cybersecurity personnel is, I don't believe, doxed to the community just yet, but he's doxed to me personally. I'm sure he doxed to the community. I just haven't asked him. All of our photos and names are on their white paper. I am KYC'd as a founder through Assure. So I am going to own all the contracts, own everything there. We have a 4/7 multi-sig for the treasury, and everybody in there is doxed, and we are all very easy to to identify and track down, which I think is a good security piece for the space as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose what wasn't completely clear, because looking at, there's like 62 people, I'd guess that it's probably close to 50-50 in terms of yours and our community, although I'm sure there's some crossover. What does your pre-sale and launch schedule look like?
Yeah, so our pre-sale is going to begin on August 10th. That's this Wednesday. It'll be at, let me do some quick math. It's 12 p.m. Central, so that makes it 1700 UTC, I believe, on Wednesday, the 10th. Yeah. So that'll be a week from today is the pre-sale. The pre-sale token is going to start at 6 cents per token, with a max allocation for the pre-sale of 20 million tokens, which is $1.2 million. There's a max wallet for that of $15,000, so 250,000 tokens. But if you purchase it in the pre-sale, you get it at 0.06, so 6 cents. There's no buy tax involved there. If you wait till we go live on the 15th, it is at 7 cents is where it'll debut, and the charts will take it from there, and there will be buy and sales tax live on the 15th. So that's a benefit again, and on the 6th, you get it cheaper, as well as having no buy tax, so almost double cheaper. And yeah, it's 1 week from today.
Very good. And what's your intended ratio between LP and market cap at the start?
Yeah, so I guess if everything sold out, it would be, let's see if I could do some quick math there. 20 million at 0.6 is 1.2 million. Obviously, we're also going to have a token allocation in the treasury, which will be 5 million tokens there. So I guess if you want to kind of take all things, if it were to be a sellout totally, it'd be somewhere around 3 to 5 million market cap. Obviously, that's all dependent on how well the pre-sale does and all those factors and all those different variables. I've never really been a person that just is like, oh, it's going to sell out. So I'm kind of treating it as, hey, worst case scenario, best case scenario, let it play out. And our investments from the pre-sale are percentage based, not dollar based, so that we can still affect our plan, whether, it sells out 50% or 100%.
Yeah. And just two more questions. Sorry, they're quite technical, but these are like, to be fair, they're the questions that everybody should ask, I think, any protocol. What's the team allocation out of your supply?
Yeah, so the team allocation will be 10% of that initial supply. So there's 5 million total tokens in team allocation. I'm going to have a little bit of a surprise on where a lot of those tokens will go, at least half of them, probably day one that we go launch, because that's a lot of tokens. And there's obviously, we have 7 people on the team currently, but at the end of the day, like I mentioned before, we need to sustain success and eliminate some greed. So we're going to be doing multiple things very quickly to reassure every investor that we have of the intent of all these things here.
Right. And last question for me. So in terms of the total dollar sum that you'll raise, how much of that will go into the protocol?
Into our protocol or to MDB?
No, into your absolutely your protocol. We're not. By the way, MDB Plus is not something we charge for. It is a cooperative in the truest sense. It's it's designed for projects to come together and mutually benefit from working together, rather than any sort of like supplier, customer, master slave relationship. Is 100% not like that. Definitely asking. So if you raise $1 million, what percentage of that is going into the protocol?
Yeah, so it's the entirety of it's going to go into different investments or liquidity pools. And that's kind of where I mentioned MDB as well, because you guys are going to get a percentage. I have a percentage for Ego's trading bot. I have some work that needs to be done on the developmental side for the liquidity management system and some other upgrades that will come shortly after. And then we have a liquidity pair to fund at least one. So there's of the entire pre-sale allocation, 100% of it's going to be back into the protocol, and what I've put up to get get this thing going will be less relevant, to be honest, as we grow for the next decade.
That's great to hear. I think we did that, as you know. Every single cent that we raised, we put into the protocol, which was a godsend because we went straight into difficult circumstances with the market. You're the only other project I've ever spoken to that's putting 100% of what they raised into the protocol. So yeah, kudos to you guys.
Of course, just to touch base on that a little bit. Obviously, as Neil touched on earlier, teams need to be paid, developers need to be paid, your moderators need to be paid. However, with regards to sustainability, the reason why we can confidently say 100% of the funds will go in is even though allocations may be needed for, networking events, marketing in general, all of these things still benefit the protocol. But even things down to, say, team salaries or team pays, we are also looking to outsource outside of the protocol itself. So that's where one of our partnerships with Ego comes into play by using their revenue sources and using their trading algorithm bots to then generate funds for not only the protocol itself, but also to pay staff and development costs. So in regards to the 100%, we can honestly say that confidently, because whether it will be going into an investment or directly for the protocol, either way, it will be there to benefit the token, whether, like I said, it pays for new contracts to be made, contract upgrades, DApps, networking events, the general stuff that happens in DeFi, it will all go straight back in.
Nice. Yeah, really cool. Okay, sorry, so I kind of took over a little bit in terms of the questions, but yeah, absolutely buzzing with the the responses. Really good.
Cool. I've just got a couple, if that's okay. This isn't a question to trip anyone up, by the way. We seem to be, at least we've noticed a lot of the kind of issues, at least lately for sure. We've seen a lot of multi-sigs where the developers have been one of the multi-sig holders. Do you guys have a demarcation between developers and the multi-sig holders?
Yes, no. That's a great question that I'll kind of go into just a little bit. Then Brandon, you can kind of follow up on there. So I totally agree. Most of the malicious acts right now are at least being pinned on the developers. I don't necessarily believe that. I think that there are malicious teams that work together and they just find someone to blame. That being said, I'm going to have total ownership and control of all contracts of everything. So from literally everything. So if anything goes wrong, I'm going to get the audit done and make sure there's no, obviously no holes in this. But if anything goes wrong, it's on me personally. I'm the one that's KYC'd. I'm the one that has to be held accountable. So that's how I'm mitigating that is I'm the one out here. My face is out here. My KYC is already stashed away. So I can't really blame anybody else if I own everything and the audit says it's good.
Yeah, really good answer.
Yeah.
Did you have anything on that, Brandon?
Yeah, just quickly. Everyone on the multi-sig is doxed publicly or doxed to SHIB. So, and as I said, it takes 4 out of 7 transactions to authorize anything. So yeah, no one on the multi-sig, no one in control of any contracts are undoxed or anonymous dev. And as SHIB said, everything is down to him. If it goes, tits up, then we SHIB's the blame. We go for SHIB.
Fair enough. So obviously you guys give a good overview of the ProtocolX earlier on. Through the lens of an investor, you give timelines roughly like 4 months and stuff like that. Could you maybe try and give a little bit of through the lens of an investor, a kind of what it looks like over the 4 months period? Like, what do we do? So you buy the token and you hold it, or how do you see it working for the investor?
So usually, okay, so as in like if you just bought on the pre-sale, right, and here day one, it's all, August 10th, you buy, I'll just use whatever, you buy $10,000 worth of tokens because you're a big baller, right? So at 6 cents, that gives you 166,000 and change tokens. So you can do a multitude of things. I've never been someone that says, hey, never sell. If you want to sell and take profits, then so be it. It's our job here to incentivize you to incentivize a protocol, right? So let's just say...
If I can just interrupt you, very sorry. We've been trying to do that for our community for the past 3 weeks. No one listens. No one wants to sell. They just want to hold. You can try, but they just will not do it. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. That was just a side note.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. We've even got a YouTuber made a satire FUD video about us, poking fun at the fact that we're British and we've delivered our roadmap and it's all a bit sus.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No,
it just felt like a perfect point to just segue into that. So carry on. So I buy $10,000 worth or whatever it would be a pre-sale, and do I just hold and kind of take profits along the way? Is there anything else I do as a holder?
So we're going to end up doing some different things to incentivize people who just hold, or to different buys, or to things like that. But let's just say you're a normal everyday investor who just wants to get engaged in the protocol, right? So you're going to have these tokens, these PTX tokens. There's actually multiple layers that are going to be released probably within 3 to 4 weeks of this going live. So you have these tokens, it's PTX, they'll be rebasing at 1.77% per day. Fast forward, let's just say a month from then, you have X amount of tokens and you haven't really taken profits yet. Okay, so at this point, you're in a pretty good spot. You can start taking profits. You can do whatever from there. Then we're going to introduce a revenue share NFT system. So from day one, so even though the NFTs won't be live for 3 to 4 weeks likely, from day one, there's a percentage of the buy tax and sales tax that goes to one wallet. And this wallet's going to be used to distribute to these NFT holders once they go live. So let's just say a month goes down, I release the NFTs. I released maximum of 20,000 of them and they're X dollars per NFT. Let's just use 0.5 BNB. You can then choose to say, okay, maybe I'll use some of my profits and get involved with this NFT share or revenue share kind of NFT system, because one, it helps us, it gives us more money to work with for these other sustainability protocols, but it also gives you a direct piece of this pie because the buy and sales tax is going back to you, right? So as those develop and as those grow, that'll give you a way to engage with that if you want. We're also going to have a lottery system. We're going to have another NFT token that I'm going to deem as keys because the NFTs are doors. And basically with those, you're going to exchange that rebase token, PTX, for these keys. The smart contract will send that PTX token to a dead wallet. And now you can upgrade your NFT doors. You can engage in the lottery or whatever else we elect to do with those keys from there. But it incentivizes the token to be burned, which is great, but it also benefits the holder, whether they want to engage in the lottery or they just want to use their rebases, but they don't really want to sell out totally. I want to give the community something to use and something to engage with if they so choose to, so they don't just have to sell to gain something from this. They can exchange it for other pieces of the protocol. It helps us build, it helps us grow, but it also helps you very, very directly as an investor, whether you want to take profits or engage more.
Awesome stuff. So the mechanism for, so what, let's say, roll on to a point in time when you decide to become deflationary. What's the mechanic that creates the deflationary model? Is it the burn wallet effectively, or the dead wallet? Or is anything else at play that allows you to expedite the burning mechanism or the deflationary mechanism?
So with regards to the burn and deflationary aspect, that's where some of our partnerships come into play. The ego bots will be used to fund buybacks. The same with the buyback wallet will be for a buyback and burn wallet. And then also with the NFT share model, as Shib said, it will sort of work on a sacrificial term. Now, if you want to use this to upgrade your revenue share model door, and obviously these doors are doors for a reason. Now, we can't spill out all of our beans for long-term plans because, as you know, there's a lot of people in this space that it's easy to nab ideas. But the reason why we've done doors is because the flexibility that allows us to do when moving on to additional models, whether that be gamification, whether that be another set different model for PTX. But introducing the burns, we're going to have the lottery system that will feed the burn. We're going to have the revenue share model that will feed the burn because you'd be able to use PTX to upgrade said doors. And then we'll also be having the generic buybacks that will also fund it, while also using partnerships and any future partnerships or external revenue models to fund that burn. So then once we turn deflationary, by the time that point happens, our APY has already dropped low enough where we're deflationary enough that the APY is now sustainable. And that's why we are so excited to be having that decreasing APY, because as I said, it gives you more time. It allows you to turn the token deflationary. It allows you to introduce them revenue share models. And once we go past the stage of, okay, now everyone has their doors, let's add more to it. We've also going to have our own DEX, which will have farms, which will also have a small transactional tax, and obviously staking pools for any partner tokens that we have for the DEX. And also really using any sort of thing that has a tax within the protocol will be used to either benefit the token or burn the token. Now, I don't want to sit here and say we're going to burn everything, because that's unsustainable. If you're just burning millions and millions of dollars while your token's going to, down, it's not benefiting the token. It's just a false pretense. Now, obviously, we'll use the current, say, economic climate of the token and see what we need to do best, whether we need to fund different partnerships, fund marketing, or fire that burn up. So having that flexibility and being able to have even just that little bit of extra time, it gives us the chance to, sit back, have a board meeting. What do we need to do? Shall we fund the burn? Shall we push for the burn? Shall we incorporate, variable taxes? What can we do? So, yeah, a lot of mechanics to fund that burn, and we're super excited to even add more to the mix. That is just sort of the first, as Shib said, a couple of months.
I just have literally one last question. Thanks very much for the answer, by the way. Just so I understand it fundamentally. So is there a point in time where essentially the rebases completely stop and then the deflationary model kicks in, or is it almost like a balancing act where you try and create equilibrium between rebase and deflation?
Yes,
at a specific point.
The whole reason that we're going to start this investment process from day one is we want to create a surplus as soon as possible. So all these different variables, the decreasing APY, the trading bot, all that. Ideally, we get to that 12-month mark and less than that, where we can surplus, where we're generating more than is required to distribute out. So that we're really not even Ponzi economic in that theoretical sense anymore. It's more so just surplus of tokens and meeting the buys with buybacks and burns, or excuse me, meeting the new mints with buybacks and burns. So that's the whole purpose. That's kind of the larger strategy behind all that there.
And also with our partnership with Ego, it's going to allow us to completely burn the team tokens. So that's going to be another aspect that we burn.
There goes the surprise. Alpha. He
Boom.
speaks once, drops the alpha.
Oh, my bad. Were we not saying that yet?
It's a congratulations. Burns for everybody.
I guess that was the surprise you had earlier, Shib, yeah?
There we go. That's the MDB. You've got the alpha special. Yes.
Nice.
What I touched on it a bit earlier, but what we really, really want to do is use external revenue sources to pay the team, whether that be development marketing. So what we can then do is get rid of team allocation completely once we're at a point where we can sustainably hold the value enough for everyone to be compensated equally, while also being able to have spare funds to pay for extra things such as development, such as new team members, expansion. But yeah, that's the plan there.
Thank you very much for your answers, guys. I don't have any more questions from myself. Danny, I don't know if we want to maybe see if anyone from the community wants to come up and ask some questions, or if you want to ask anything yourself.
Yeah, definitely. If anyone from the community, I know Mandark came up a couple of times actually, and he went. But if anybody's got any questions, I know certainly within the MDB community, people are quite. Let's say, they're quite diligent, let's say. So, yeah, got questions? Come up. No questions? What about, has anybody got any questions around sort of the partnership between ProtocolX and MDB? And if they'd like to come up and ask any questions about that, feel free. Yeah.
It's a tough crowd.
A few questions in the AMA text channel as well, if you want to put over there.
Hello.
Hey there.
Hey.
So just a couple of questions. I was in and out, so I missed some of the thoughts, so I apologize if you already answered these. Were there any buy and sell taxes that were mentioned? The other thing was, I heard that you mentioned that the maximum amount was 1.2 million, which is what you guys were going for, and was there like a soft cap mentioned in terms of like minimum amount that you need to raise in order to get everything functional? The other question that I had was, I'm sure that you guys are keeping a very curious eye on some of the other projects that have recently been launching or trying to launch. So couple other rebasing projects which have recently launched, and obviously the markets are brutal right now, and they're it is what it is. So is that something that concerns you with respect to just the overall market and the rebasing model kind of just dropping out of fashion these days? Why is rebasing even required? I mean, I know that a lot of the projects talk about using this as a bootstrapping process because it's like a hot term. Everybody wants to get in on rebasing, but it seems like you guys are trying to do a lot of things which are pretty cool. But it's kind of like, hey, is that just another problem that you guys want to tack on and then have to try and keep constantly battling against it? And I just feel like so many other projects are adding like a lot of cool stuff, bringing a lot of cool things that they're trying to do, but they're kind of handicapping themselves with rebasing at this point. So just some thoughts, and yeah.
Yeah, so all great questions there. So there is no defined soft cap. Now, I did kind of go into it a little bit before. Okay, I guess let me don't get out. I want to get out of order here. So there are buy and sales tax for the token. So the buy tax and the sale tax are going to be very similar to Titanos, just different structure of where they go. Buy tax is 13%, sales tax is 18%. And of that, for the buy, the 13% buy tax, 3% goes into a buyback and burn fund, 3% goes right to liquidity, 5% to the treasury, and 2% to the X share, the NFT revenue system that I kind of talked about earlier. And of the sales tax, 3% go to the buyback and burn fund, 5% to liquidity, 8% to treasury, and 2% to those NFTs, X shares, revenue share NFTs there. So that's the tokenomics aspect of the different taxes. As far as the soft caps versus hard caps, obviously we have that hard amount, that 20 million tokens that'll be available. I did not define a soft cap, more so because I'm basing things off a percentage. So I'm not necessarily afraid of the markets right now. And in a sense, because we are a rebase token that decreases over time, it isn't the end of the world that it's not 1 year ago and we're not going to have 10,000 holders in a week. Because honestly, that gives us more time to work with what we're working with. So not that I'm hoping for anything bad or anything. I'd love for it to sell out completely. That actually sets us way ahead of what I would, scheduled out to be. So there's no defined soft cap now. Obviously, if we raise $20, that'd be a problem. But if it's like 50% it sells out, we'd be just fine. If it does 100%, it puts us well ahead of where I planned out, and it'll get us there much, much quicker. So that's kind of the general aspects there. I don't recall if I missed anything else there, but I'm not afraid of the markets. Taxes are true, and no soft cap.
Regarding, and again, I apologize if you've already mentioned this, but the pre-sale, do you have an idea of how long it's going to be? Because, again, in this market, sometimes it takes a little bit more time to raise capital. So previously in the bull market, we had like pre-sales going on for like an hour, and that was fine to hit the hard cap. But yeah.
Yeah, so this will be from August 10th to the 15th. So it gives us Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then we'll launch on that 6th day there. May that not be enough to sell out totally? That's possible, but just from what we've observed with other protocols, you have that mass influx early, and then you have a trickle-in effect for about 72 hours if they didn't meet it. And then it really falls off a cliff in what's building into it. So trying to have a pre-sale for 3 weeks in DeFi, it's just not what people are into. They want their token to go live. They want it to get to work because that's why they're investing, right? Because they needed to start generating and doing what it does. So I think that 6th day, that 5 to 6 day mark is good. I'm not going to have a 1 or 2 day pre-sale, but if it sells out in 2 hours, then we'd be blessed. I'd be very, very happy that could happen. But if it gets to Monday and we are 50%, I'm still okay. If it's 2 hours in and we're 100%, I'm ecstatic. So pros and pros.
Roger. And did you also say something about the LMS system? Are you going to be incorporating that? And if so, do we have any idea of what sort of bands or price ranges up and down we're going to have?
Yeah, so the LMS is going to be totally custom. I know there's some other big ones out there. I've talked to Horde, for example. I've talked to some others. And I have a great development team. So as I was going through them and just some of the stipulations of those agreements, I was like, well, what if we were to build our own and we don't have to pay transaction fees for life? My marketing's already decent. I'm pretty decent into the DeFi area, so that extra Horde kind of alliance wouldn't do huge push for us, and nothing against them. I don't want that to be misconstrued. But if we develop our own, I own it fully. I can have it developed exactly how we want it. And I want to be almost like a rising floor model. So instead of saying, hey, our token price will be between 0.07 and 0.14, like what Horde does, where they're very specific with it, I want ours to be able to fluctuate over time and grow over time, so that when we're at this 1 year mark, ideally we could be pushed well beyond this pre-sale launch price of 0.07 as that floor from the LMS system from it. It gives people security, it gives a good amount of money in there over time, and as long as this works, it'll keep generating revenue, and I don't have to pay anybody else for a bot to trade within my liquidity pool, because that's all it's really doing. So that'll be an interesting concept, combining that with the investment with MDB, with the investment with Ego, and even some of these other things that I'm currently working on or have already announced. I think we're going to be set up for a pretty substantial difference in this market is used to having, where it's almost linear. They almost rely on one or two things. This allows us to expand our horizon by quite a bit and have variables giving us positive price action from all over the place, allowing us to really work into our belief and into our path here over time. And I know Brand hinted at it very, very early on, but the rebase protocol, you did ask about this as well. We want to have this rebase protocol that is paying that 0.5% fixed passive income at the 1 year mark. I want that to be a big piece of things, but we also intend on building a very, very legitimate business model sooner rather than later. It's a bigger project. It's going to take money. It's going to take time. And there's other people out there with money that I don't have. So I don't really want to spill all those eggs just yet as we start navigating and try to get partnerships for that. But this isn't it. This isn't it for us here. It's going to be a thing going forward. We're not going to abandon the rebase protocol, but this is going to be one piece of a much bigger pie as we navigate over the next 1 year, and then the tokenomics of my DEX token is 10 years. I want to be working on that follow-up build literally indefinitely. I do crypto full-time now. I've done business in the real world. I want to be engaged in business and crypto until I'm done working, whenever that might be.
Roger. Well, thanks a lot for answering some of those thoughts and concerns. And thanks for having me. And good luck to you. Good luck to you guys.
I appreciate you, man.
I have to say, Shib, that was a really well constructed response, and I've got just sitting here listening to that really filled me with kind of confidence in how you responded to those questions there. So, really good job. Just one for me in terms of what was the moment, or I guess what was there any inspiration from anything in terms of all the mechanics of the project now and in the future? Is there anything specific that you kind of thought, I'm going to fix that problem in this part? I'm going to, was the one thing that kind of made you think, this is how I'm going to build my project, and these are how I kind of want to take it forward?
Yeah, I don't want to call anybody out by name, but there's two things that frustrate me in the rebase field in general. I'll just kind of combine it to here. Is one, we'll go three things. One, greed. Two, inflation. And three, being afraid to actually work. And what do I mean by those? Greed is pretty obvious. Once these protocols either rug or fail and you find out they're paying themselves $10,000 a week, that frustrates me. Two, inflation. They sit there and ride some euphoric high for 2 to 3 months while the token becomes unreasonably possible to manage, and then it tanks by 99% over time. That's nonsense. You cannot let that happen if you're going to be a sustainable protocol. And then three, they're afraid to actually work out their strategy. What does that mean? Well, we're going to do buybacks and burns, but people keep selling, so we're going to wait until they all sell out. What kind of logic is that? That's backwards, because if you're not doing anything as a team, they're going to keep selling because it's a rebase protocol and they're earning rebases every day. So you have to have these things working as a system. And if they're not working all together, and this is kind of why I have 7 people on my team, because there's me and then there's everyone else who could be in my ear and say, hey, we should look into doing this. We need to be doing this. But these buybacks that we're going to be doing are at least going to be weekly, maybe not the same exact time every week, because I don't want people to predict them, but we're going to have funds in there, and buybacks and burns are going to be constant. Our vision is going to be constant. I'm not going to sit here and ride a high because a pre-sale sells out and I feel good about myself for 3 months as I am stealing all. Maybe I won't use that word. They're procuring a lot of money from the protocol as their protocol is failing. So I don't want to be that person. So it's an idea of actual business that I want to bring into the space, people that can be trusted, working with people who are not only good people but have great ideas that can help further DeFi, because we've had so much bad so recently, and it's going to scare people away if we don't start changing that aspect there. So those are the three things that have happened in recent months. Losing money in protocols hasn't really bothered me. How that money gets lost does. So that's where we've kind of sat together and we're like, hey, I already have this experience. My team already has these levels of experience. Let's put something together where we're not afraid to actually push our vision, remove greed from the aspect, and just work and build something that's beneficial to the community, beneficial to the protocol and the business, and also beneficial to us, because we're not going to burn out and the flame is gone in 2 months or whatever, like some others happen to do.
Yeah, I just want to touch on that a little bit. Is that my favorite part about ProtocolX is it was a team effort. Now every single member of our team has contributed a massive part to whatever ideas we've incorporated, whether that even be down to graphics design, the website, tokenomics, the white paper. Every single person has used their previous experience and combined it to go, hey, let's make the mega chad of rebase tokens. Now, we're very, very proud of what we worked with for so far. Every single day, the whole team, this isn't one of them scenarios, and this is where I want to give Neil a massive shout out. Neil is one of the, if not the best founders within this space. Not only does he listen to everything, he also, will take your idea, give you the credit for it, and, do everything he can if it's a good idea. Now, that's one thing I love about working with Neil. Everyone's opinion matters, even down to the community. Neil comes from a massive background of community management, so his day-to-day job was making sure the community was heard, and that's one thing I love about the protocol. It was a very much joint effort. We even had some of our external guys, shout out to RA, shout out to Boris, a bunch of good guys who are also having input and helping us, perfect, in our eyes, obviously perfect every little aspect to grow. So not only was it a team effort, it was also a large amount of community effort as well, to make sure that we have that sustainable protocol and make sure we're listening to them even prior to launch. So I'm super looking forward to it, and yeah, that's all from me.
Oh, very good. Guys, I have a meeting now that I need to jump into, which is actually very likely to be our next MDB Plus Alliance partner, so which is good for ProtocolX, by the way, and it's good for MDB in equal measure. I'll kind of leave you guys to wrap up, but I did want to share kind of what is MDB Plus and what's the alliance, just in case anybody here doesn't really understand maybe sort of the fundamentals of it. So MDB Plus is basically a stable backed asset that can only appreciate in value. It's mathematically impossible for it to go down. Sounds like a scam, obviously. We've heard all of the stories before. But ultimately, when you buy MDB Plus, the contract mints your supply. It then converts what you bought with, which is BNB, into BUSD, is locked in the contract. And when you sell, it then destroys your supply. But it takes a very small tax, like 0.75%, 0.25% coming out. So it's 1% total in and out combined. And it keeps that in the LP. So that means that the LP is constantly growing versus the number of tokens in circulation. Ultimately, that means if you buy or sell MDB Plus, it actually increases the price, and the total supply of MDB Plus is backed by 100% by BUSD plus $1 at all times. So that's great from a retail point of view, but then you move that into B2B applications. We were the first, I suppose, alliance partner. We tested the ecosystem on ourselves. We moved 40% of our LP a long time ago now. Actually, I think BNB was back at about 340 when we did that. So we moved 40% of our LP across to MDB Plus, 60% still on BNB. And that's really one of the secrets to our success, amongst other things, over the last few months, because as the market absolutely tanked, 40% of our LP was actually appreciating, and we've achieved APY since launch of about 58%. 7 days just touched under 30%, but we've got some movements coming in the next couple of days. So typically it's been sort of like 30%, and the long-term goal is that the APY of the token is between 20 and 40%. The utilities, I suppose, what does it mean for ProtocolX? And it's the same as what it means for us. So you've got an appreciating LP. So first and foremost, that obviously hedges against downside risk, but also means that it's basically an income stream for your protocol rather than just having BUSD. Secondly, then if you have two LPs, it means that then you can arbitrage between the two LPs, and because you're a tax token, it makes that arbitrage even easier. And therefore, and we do this as well, it means that you get passive income from the R bot, which is being fed directly back into the protocol, which again can be used for for buyback and burns, or investing in the protocol, so on and so forth. So we invest all of that revenue back in, and I'm sure, judging by the team, that you guys will do a similar thing. The third revenue stream actually is because your protocol is generating revenue, and we do this also. Our biggest single holding is in MDB Plus. And actually, because we generate volume through the token, plus retail investors use it, it means that you also then get an allocation. So as a retail investor, there's a max limit of 50k in MDB Plus, whereas a protocol that drives volume through it is then allowed to have a much larger allocation that's related to the volume that they're driving through. So what that means for you is that you could take, let's use an example, if you took $300,000 and you put it into MDB Plus, you will get like probably 10 times what you would get if you were just farming BUSD on PancakeSwap. Now the BUSD is completely locked in the contract. There's only one way it can come out, and that's if you redeem it for MDB Plus. So it's as safe as you can get basically in crypto, but then the ROI is huge. So you get 3 revenue streams. We don't charge for the service, by the way, so there's no sort of like big upfront fee or anything like that. We use it. The more people that use it, it's good for us, it's good for them, and ultimately the MDB Plus Alliance is about building a large number of projects that get some benefit from MDB Plus, but by using it, they also put something in, and that's good for everybody long term. And there's a fourth revenue stream. We'll segue into real world business applications around finance and payment solutions with the experience that we're going to build over the next 6 months. And then all of the projects that have got an early entry into the MDB Plus Alliance will have some equity in that business, and we'll be looking for a significant fundraise. We'll be disappointed with anything less than sort of a valuation in the hundreds of million, maybe $500 million upwards, if we deliver what we aim to deliver. And yeah, so really it's 3 income streams with no cost for ProtocolX. Very light work in terms of setting it up, but then also that added benefit of then being sort of a shareholder in the business when it delivers on its long-term goals. And that, that's why we're here, and that's kind of the pitch that we've delivered to ProtocolX, and the reason why the guys are here, and they're happy to be on board with the alliance.
Hey, yeah, I appreciate that. I do have another AMA as well. I know you got to go to your meeting. I just want to say, hey, thank you for all that information. Thank you guys for the questions. Thank you for hosting us here, and I look forward to engaging in all 4 of those income streams from this alliance and this partnership going forward. So hey, thank you guys. I appreciate all of you here.
Brilliant. Yeah,
Cheers,
thank you.
guys.
Thanks for everybody.